Welcome to Jupyter Notebook Overview Lecture. So here we're going to be continuing with the previous lecture. So as you can see here, we have a cell and it's blue here, but if I click inside, it's green. Alright, so if I click here on this plus icon, it's going to create some more cells. If I click on this scissor icon, it's going to cut the cells away. There's also the copy and the paste icons. There's also the up and down arrows to choose a particular cell that we want to work with. Alright, so I'm just going to make a few more cells again, the plus icon. Okay, and we also have here the code by default, but if I click here on this drop-down menu, you've got Markdown, Raw MB Convert, and Heading. So there's a much more quicker way of being able to choose one of these. So if I click here, where it's blue, I can do M, and now it's Markdown, or if I click R, it's Raw MB Converts, and lastly, if I go back to code, you simply press Y. Okay, so let's say we want to have our very first line of code here. Well, what we can do is have print, and then I'm going to have in caps here as a string, click arrow icon to run code in cell, like so, and press this arrow icon, and as you can see, we have the output here. Great. So an alternative and more common approach would be print hold shift plus press enter to run code in cell, like so. Okay, so let's say I like to be able to merge these two cells together, the 1 and the 2 here. What I can do is click here where it's blue, then hold the shift button, then click here again on this one, and now you can see it's highlighted in this very light blue color. And continue to hold the shift button and then press M for merge. And as you can see now, if I press the shift and enter, you can see that we get two outputs here now. And let's say I want to split them. So it's the opposite, where you simply hold the control if you're a PC, or if you are a Mac user, hold the command button, then also hold the shift button, and you can see where my cursor is, and then press the minus sign, like so, and you can see they both split. Alright, so let's say for instance, I'm just going to make some space here in this particular cell. So let's say I like to have multiple lines of code typed out at the same time, so simultaneously writing code. How can we do that? Well, again, if you are a PC user, hold the control button, or if you're a Mac user, hold the command button, and then all you do is simply left click. So left click here. Doesn't matter how many times, it's just for demonstration purposes, so I might lose one here and there. Okay, and I'm going to have, let's say, print, and we'll have, let's say, hold, control, or command, plus, left, click, mouse for multi-cursor, and then shift and enter, and there you go. Great. So you've got this output here. Now, if I want to hide this output, I can just simply double click here and it hides it, and then click again so I can see it again. An alternative approach would be if I press the O key. So press O and it hides it, press O again, and you can see it outputs it, kind of like a drawer. So it's just toggling back and forth, which I think is pretty neat. Alright, so let's say for instance I make a mistake here on my code. So if I go, let's say, just remove this particular closing parenthesis here, and then run this again with shift and enter, you can see I get a syntax error where it says invalid syntax. And that's because I'm missing this closing parenthesis here, but it's on line 4. Now let's say for instance this was 1,000 lines of code instead of what I have here, which is just essentially 6 lines of code. How would I be able to find the exact line that I have to correct? If let's say this is 1,000 lines of code, and let's say this was on line 400. Well, a quick way would be simply if you click here and then press L, and now I would know that it's actually line 4 here, or rather it's line 3, but it's affecting line 4. So as you can see here, it's basically expecting something like this on that. So it's looking at that, but really that's not what we want. So just do print again here, and you're going to have this error here of line 4. So it's between line 3 and 4. So this is a very quick way of finding out where the error actually is. So I can go back here and correct it here, and then run this, and now you can see the error is gone. Alright, so an alternative approach is simply clicking on a single cell to see the numbers for each line of code is if you want to have all of the cells have a line of code. So let's say I just make some space here, and then I simply go and click here, and then I hold Shift and then press L, and you can see now all of the cells have numbers associated with their lines. So it makes it very easy to find out if there's an error on a particular line. Alright, so let's say we have some of the shortcuts, specifically for Jupyter Notebook, and then we'll take a look later on at both the PC and Mac shortcuts, and there's a very slight difference between them. So let's say if I go to here, and then I simply click on where it's blue, and then press C, and then I go to this cell here, and then press V. So you can see what's happened is that when I press C here, it's copied all this code, and then when I press V here, it pastes it into a cell below. Alright, so what I can also do is, let's say I just put in something else like print, just to distinguish it. Hello Jupyter Notebook. Right, run that. Now I'm going to hide that, and then I'm going to have, let's say, instead of C, I'm going to press X, and that's going to cut it. And then if I go to, let's say, this cell here, and then again press V to paste, you can see I have this here now. So instead of copying, I'm cutting and pasting. Alright, and let's say, for instance, I want to save my Jupyter Notebook. What I can do is, there's two ways. The main way that I would recommend you do is simply press S. So outside where my cursor is, press S, and you can see I have a checkpoint created at a particular time. Alright, now there's an alternative approach to generating the cells here. So what you can do is, instead of having the plus, you can have the insert cell above or below, and also there's a shortcut to that. So I can go here and let's say I want to have a, let's go here, I want to have a cell above this 9 here. So in 9, I want to have another cell above. So press A, as you can see here. Or let's say if I go to here, and I want to have a cell below. So in between this one and this one here. So just simply press B, as you can see here. Alright, so let's say, for instance, I want to use the shortcuts for both PC and the Mac computer. Well, what I can do is, let's say, it's very similar to what we have with the Jupyter Notebook. So we'll start off with the, so click here in this cell, anywhere will do, and then hold, if you're a PC user, the control button, or if you're a Mac user, hold the command button, and then press A to select all, like so. You can see it's all highlighted here. And then I can simply do, for instance, Control and C for PC users to copy, or it's going to be Command and C to copy. And then I can go in here, and then I'm going to do Control and V for pasting, or Command and V for pasting, depending upon your operating system, like so. So it's very intuitive, really. It's essentially the same as what we have with the Jupyter Notebook. And I'll show you at the end of this lecture a table of the differences between the PC and the Mac when it comes to using these shortcuts. Also, let's say, for instance, I want to do print, let's say, add me, like that. Now, let's say I want to remove that by doing an undo. So I can do Control and then Z, and this should remove this. It's not deleting it, it's just simply undoing. So this is the undo. So Control and Z, or Command and Z for Mac users, like so. So I'm pressing it twice just to remove it. Now if I want to get that back for PC users, it's simply Control and Y, like so. Or I can go back to Control and Z, or Control and Y. So toggling back and forth. And for Mac users, when you want to redo something, it's going to be Command, Shift, and Z. So you're going to press 3 buttons this time. So it's Command, Shift, and Z. Okay. So let's say, for instance, I want to cut everything here. Well, as you can probably guess, you simply hold the Control and then you have to select everything. So I'm going to do Control and A, or Command and A, and then select everything, and then simply you're going to do Control and X. So you're going to cut everything, or Command and X, like so, and then I'm going to a new cell here, and then it's going to be for pasting, Control and V, or Command and V, like so. Alright, and let's say I want to save things, so I can simply, like you saw before, it's the S, but you can also do Control and S or Command and S, and then you can simply save it like so. You've got a checkpoint created. Okay, and lastly, let's say we want to make some comments here. So I can go here and have a hashtag for comments. So this is a comments. If I run this, you're not going to get an output. As you can see, there's no comments output here. This is just a comment. And also, let's say I want to comment this actual code itself. So I could simply do Control or Command and A to select everything, like so. And then all you do is hold the Control or Command and /, like so. And now it's a comment, and I can simply uncomment that again with the Control or Command and /. So just back and forth like so. So if I run this, I get no output, as you can see here. Alright, and I'm just going to leave you with a list so you can compare the differences between the PC and Mac when it comes to the shortcuts. And I hope that's been a very insightful overview of the Jupyter Notebook. And we'll be continuing on with the lectures, with the next one being on variables. I hope to see you there. Thanks.